American person, or especially somebody who's Black American with, other admixture within them, is not the same race or is closer to many other groups than they are to Sentinelese people. But people would be like, well, but they're both Black. But like these paradigms we're working in don't ever hold up under any scrutiny whatsoever, especially a person or especially somebody who's
with
Black
genetics,
American
they
with,
have
other admixture within them.
Australian Aboriginals, 5% of that. You know how like 2% of white European DNA is Neanderthal. 5% of Aboriginal Australian DNA is a yet undiscovered hominid. Isn't that fucking wild?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, sub-Saharan Africans, they have like a, what do they call it? Archaic admixture. I think it would like occurred after the migration out of Africa. And it's like 2 to 19% of some of their populations. But no, you're right. The Negritos, the people that I was talking about that are related to the Aborigines, they have an admixture with something that like I guess you don't really see with other groups.
It's not even discovered yet. We don't even
It's the same with the Sentinelese, though. Sentinelese also have an ancestor that we don't know about.
Well, they all share like lineage.
For me, I'm South Asian. And like on my tests and stuff, I always mark Asian, which is kind of but it feels weird always.
Well,
do you feel Asian?
Specific that India.
I do, yeah, but like
on our census, if you're Indian, you have to put Asian.
I mean, like
no, Indians are Asian, but like
these races don't exist. It's that they could do with some higher resolution.
Yeah.
Hey Pepe. Are you pro-Russia or pro-Ukraine?
I think Russia should fuck off and leave Ukraine alone.
I didn't let him answer.
I said Russia should fuck off and leave Ukraine alone.
Okay.
Wait. Shouldn't. So Safety, what are you?
I mean, personally, I'm pro-Ukraine. But I mean, this is a really tense situation. So,
would you draft American men and women to defend Ukrainian borders?
It all depends on what Russia does. If Russia pushes,
oh my god, this really is the U.S. Patriot Room, isn't it?
No, wait. Yes, it's the U.S. Patriot Room. We're gonna bomb Russia. It's super based to curb the power of far-right predatory states that are oligarchies that prey on the working class and democracies. Always very based.
Okay, but I asked you a very.
No, I was responding to Boots real quick. I'm gonna answer your question, which is if Russia, if they do a small incursion on the border, sanctions, right? If they fortify the Donbass, sanctions. If they push significantly into eastern Ukraine, like getting closer to Kiev or connecting the strait completely to Crimea, then I think we're definitely going to have to do some military action. If that's war, I don't think that's going to be
Americans.
war.
So
have you read Smedley Butler?
I don't think I see a scenario unless they invade Ukraine full on where I would support just straight up going to war with Russia.
Are you a fan of Smedley Butler?
Can someone explain to me our fucking allegiance with Ukraine that we need to fucking defend them?
You think that American men and women should die to protect Ukrainian borders?
I just answered your question. I said if they do a full-on invasion, yes. Otherwise, no.
The military's for dying.
That's
the military
incredibly fucked. I have no idea. I have no idea where you get this idea. Like, would you die for Ukraine? I wouldn't.
Yeah, this is the worst take. This is the dumbest take I've heard out of Safety.
How is this? Wait, I'm sorry. This isn't a stupid take. One, Ukraine represents a huge moral imperative for Western democracies to defend. Two, Ukraine is a huge strategic position for Europe to hold. Letting Russia have it means they have a huge border directly right up against NATO and the EU,
which makes
it easier. Which makes it one, Russia would have way more direct influence over all of the Eastern Bloc countries. They would have a direct border against many of them. You don't want that to happen.
Hold on, they already do.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they have a direct border with the Baltics. They don't have a direct border with Romania. They don't have a direct border with Hungary. They don't have a direct border with Slovakia, Poland, right? Way
I don't know
more.
if you know this. I don't know if you know this, Safety, but we're talking about Europe. So borders are about 25 minutes away from each other in Europe.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
So
and
all
being
you,
right,
so
wait,
the
and Russia being
between,
Russia being right up against EU countries gives them way more ability to fuck with their influence over them.
No,
you don't think
Safety
so?
Bidenist.
I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand. One, I don't think you understand mechanized infantry. How fucking fast troops can move.
Why does he want to go to war?
Second,
I just wait. What are you talking about?
Second,
what did I say?
You didn't answer why Americans should die for Ukrainian border integrity. That seems fucking ludicrous.
Because I believe the United States as the global hegemon, this is a position we have put ourselves in, need to act when other democracies are under threat, especially strategically important ones, like
then
ones that give our main adversaries huge access to the Black Sea and put a direct border right up against their neighbors.
You go first.
The U.S. is way too imperialist.
Get
I'm
a
not
rifle
acting,
and go.
This is a farce. This is a
Safety,
farce.
go volunteer for the Ukrainian militias and fight.
You don't. Okay, this
right
is really
Ukraine
dumb.
side.
You don't have to sign up for a war to support it.
Sure you do.
Yeah, what a luxury.
Wow, what a
Are
luxury.
you a fan of
What
Smedley
is this
Butler?
dumb argument?
Are you a
can
Smedley
for,
Butler fan?
I'm sorry, like what are you serious?
Who's
This is
going
like,
to
imagine saying, "Wow, you're for fighting the Nazis. Why aren't you signing up for the draft?"
Who's
what a
going
dumb
to fight?
argument.
This sounds like cope to me. Sounds like a cope for you being a coward, man.
Not just who's
What are
going
you
to fight,
talking about?
who is going to fund, facilitate, or even support this idea.
So, I don't. It's just like if you. I'm not willing to talk to you. If your argument is if you're not willing to go fight a war, why are you supporting it? Fucking stupid.
Like it
Not,
seems.
Why are
stupid.
you supporting a war?
Hold on. Let me explain. Let me.
If you
explain.
support the NATO bombings of Yugoslavia, why don't you strap yourself into a plane?
It seems like every time.
Wait, you mean when we curbed genocide? When we stopped a genocide from
Yeah,
happening?
that's a good thing. Why should the United States?
That is a
intervene?
good. Yeah. That's great. That's not what's happening in Ukraine.
No, it's not.
That's a
no,
false
it's not. Hey, no,
it was.
What are you talking
You
about?
were
presented as an
equivocating it.
One. The U.S. doesn't.
You should really read
The U.S.
War
does
as a
not
Racket,
have an
buddy.
imperative to
Holy
intervene in the Balkans, right? Same as it doesn't have doesn't have a necessity or an interest, right, directly to intervene in Ukraine, right? So if you support the bombings of Yugoslavia, you should be willing to strap yourself into a NATO plane and go bomb to stop a genocide.
Where were you guys for Georgia in 2008? Where were you? Where were you people?
Dude,
You didn't do anything for them.
I was a child.
right? Like we were literally.
This guy is such a troll, man.
I was like 7.
You guys like.
Safety.
Where were you when you could not be a military person?
If you did not understand the implications of military action, especially against fucking
Everybody
Russia.
shut up.
Halfway across the world, not even on our fucking
damn it,
soil.
Shut up, Boots.
Muted. God damn it, Boots. Okay, Patty, go. Then Iram. I think Iram, you wanted to talk, right?
Thanks.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And Iram. Jesus.
Thanks. So, like, it seems to me every time that this conversation comes up, where it becomes a situation in which the United States may have to step into something, there's always that few people in the background who are desperately, like, wanting to be so isolationist that they believe that countries like the United States should stay out of any and all conflicts in which happen outside of the United States. But I hate to, like, break it to you, other countries, the involvement of countries like, for example, Russia and yes, even China, getting involved with these smaller European countries that anyone barely talks about, does have, right, a strategic advantage for the United States to be involved, to protect them, and to, yes, stand up to countries like Russia, stand up to leaders like Putin, stand up to countries like China and leaders in China. It does become incumbent on the United States to sometimes step in on those issues. Now, simply because safety does not want to be a soldier does not mean that he cannot advocate for certain, like, things to take place in order to protect other people in other countries. This is, like, he's 100% right when he says something like, you guys are essentially saying that those who advocated that we should stop Germany from engaging in the Holocaust and other imperialist actions, that like we should have to like those individuals
This is
should
the
have
false
to.
equivalence.
I'm sorry, Iram. I don't recall. I didn't talk while you were talking. Don't do it to me. So like this is the same. You can call it a false equivalence all you want to, but when you make arguments like you're a coward, you don't want to go into fighting, you don't want to be a soldier, you don't want to go into the war, you're making the same argument in which if a Holocaust were happening and someone says we should stop this, and your response is, yeah, well, why don't you go sign up for the draft? Why don't you go and fight in the war?
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying.
He's
that's
just
not
an
what I'm
idiot.
Saying, yeah. Listen, this is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Safety's a coward. He very well could think that the sacrifice in Ukraine would be worth his life. Maybe. That seems totally abstract to me. I don't understand it. Like, what I'm saying is, and this whole Holocaust thing is a total false equivalency. What's going on in Ukraine is not what was going on in Germany in 1939. I'm very sorry.
Wait, no. Wait, you misunderstand her
God,
point.
shut up. Let him finish.
No,
You guys should read War is a Racket.
Shut up and let him finish.
By the way, no one's saying that the situation in Ukraine is like the Holocaust. No one's saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, then why are we talking about it?
Okay, I'll explain why.
I'll
explain why I brought it up. I'll
Especially
explain.
since they
Wait,
brought it
I
up.
brought it up. I'll explain why I brought it up.
Safety.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to talk.
Here's
I didn't want
the-
to.
here's
Wait.
You
the-
asked
Guys,
why.
let
Let
Iram
Safety
finish.
answer why.
Guys,
We asked Safety a question.
He asked the question.
I'm not done.
Then don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Patty,
Come on, guys. Let
come
him
on
finish.
now. Yeah. Okay, why I said to Safety, all right, get a rifle and do it yourself then, is because I think that there, especially in Western countries, we have this luxury of thinking, well, this is politically advantageous, so we'll just do it. We'll just do whatever militarily we wish. And what I'm trying to convey is doing something like that against Russia would have existential consequences that we are not prepared to pay. And what I mean by that is, if you personally are not willing to sacrifice your own blood for whatever military purpose we are trying to accomplish over there, like we rightfully would be if we were trying to stop a genocide in Germany in 1939, that's worth a lot of blood, then we shouldn't be posturing like we're willing to make these sacrifices.
All right, can I?
Do we
can
just
I
not
respond?
learn from
Pepe,
history?
Can I respond?
Is that what we
Pepe,
do?
do you mind if I
Yeah,
respond?
guys,
Please
shut
let-
up.
please
Let
Safety
Safety
respond.
respond. Let Safety respond.
Pepe, can I go after Pepe?
Me bringing up Nazi Germany, I didn't bring up the Holocaust. That has nothing to do with it. Me bringing up Nazi Germany is there were plenty of people before the war, chief of most FDR, who wanted to get involved to stop a predatory imperialist nation that was extraordinarily racist from asserting its control over a continent. And we did that justifiably. That was a good thing. We decided that we were going to become the global hegemon and defend democracy, right? And so in this case, you have a far-right state that is an oligarchy that preys on the democracies around it. And to mention genocide real quick, Putin is someone who doesn't believe that the Ukrainian culture exists. He's somebody that has stated that he would like Ukrainian culture to stop.
Safety, I'll grant all
existing.
this. I'll grant all
Wait,
this.
wait,
I
wait,
hate
wait,
Russia.
wait,
I hate Russia.
wait. So, I mean, basically, we're meeting almost the same tenets as like the beginning of World War II. You have a state.
We're not.
Yes, we
This
are.
is insane.
You have a state that is preying on all the smaller countries around it because they think they are the cultural hegemon and would like to assimilate, aka make other cultures stop existing and assert its control over lands that it thinks it has historical control over, aka Eastern Europe.
Safety, let's say you're 100% right, and you probably are, about everything you're saying about Russia. Is that worth American blood? Would you send your son to do it? I wouldn't.
In this moment,
You know what?
especially.
Here, wait. Here, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna end that like little argument once and for all. If the United States military feels like it needs to draft me, it can. Otherwise, I don't feel a necessity to sign up.
No, that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. I said, is it worth?
That answers your question.
Yeah, he just
If the United States military deems that it's worthy to do so, then it should.
Safety, I'm asking you. I'm not asking the United States military.
That's my answer. I think that whatever the government deems necessary,
His
that needs
answer
to
is
be
if
done.
the government wants to do it, he
Whatever the
wants to sign
government
it.
deems necessary. Wow.
Yes, if the government, if Biden decides that Russia's gone too far and we do need to send boots on the ground, and in fact we do need to do the draft, I'm all more than willing to join the military.
So
How
you
many
would-
buddies you got are soldiers that could die over it.
But I don't. I personally. It's not absurd.
So Vietnam,
you
you
don't need.
What are we talking
Yeah, he
about?
really would have gone to Vietnam.
I'm not willing to entertain. I'm not willing to entertain a dumb argument about whether or not I'm willing to join a war. It's a non-point.
Have you read War is
It's not a
Irrational by
non-point.
Smedley
It's
Butler?
a,
You're literally
it's a
just
question,
doing. Okay, here.
No,
it's
no, no.
literally
It's a question
just
of what. It's a question of what we're willing to sacrifice to accomplish a political end. It's a political calculation. Are we willing to sacrifice American men and women?
Yes, clearly. If that comes to that.
You're doing it again. You're engaging in more. You're just
The American way of life.
Stop.
The second people start to die, we'll leave.
What is it? What is it called? What is it called? When, I'm sorry. He's doing the thing. What is it called when you want when you're paying lip service?
No,
I've said this over and over again. This is just a tu quoque fallacy.
What am I doing?
It's the same argument over and over again. It's an informal fallacy.
So Iram, you're engaging with tu quoque. Essentially, what you're doing is like you're just.
I'm unfamiliar.
Okay, it's just like it's a technique that's like it's a fallacious technique in which you discredit an opponent's argument by just attacking the opponent's personal behavior and then saying that like their behavior in their life is inconsistent with that argument. And when you do things like say, I mean, you really think American blood should be spilled in whatever country? And would you send your kids to do that? I wouldn't send my kids to do that. I don't think you'd send your kids to do that. Like you're just engaging in tu quoque. We're not like nobody fucking. Sorry, this is going to sound horrible to you because you value veterans like that. Not saying that I don't, but I don't use them for my arguments like tokens, right? You can sit there and say and posture about how much you care about not making people veterans, about not putting people in the war. But guess what? Part of what being a country is about, part of what being a global leader, a cultural leader in the world is sometimes we have to shed blood. It is the same thing in which happens.
What an empty attitude. Of course that's true. Of course that's true, Patty. Patty.
I'm still talking.
Iram, just let her finish. Just let her finish, Iram. I'll let you go uninterrupted afterwards.
I know you're triggered by that, but I'm still talking. Guess what? Tu quoque doesn't work on me. It may work on some of these other people that you like to mess with in these debates, but it doesn't work on me. So you can sit there, right, and constantly make this fallacious argument. But guess what? I absolutely am. You keep fucking interrupting. So, like, you want, like I'm telling you now, if you want me to be annoying, I'll do it. I'll be obnoxious and annoying.
Come on, Patty. Come on, Patty. Just like let's not do that.
All right.
So
again, right?
this is not a tu quoque. This is not a tu quoque. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying.
I don't know why you're.
I am not.
Come on, Iram. Come on, dude. Just let her finish.
You're really not done. Okay.
Why you're interrupting? I wasn't done. Keep
Let's
doing
go.
this.
Chop chop. Let's go.
Really? Are you really? Why are men like this? Anyway.
Okay. No, I am not. This is not a moral indictment of safety.
Why are you interrupting?
This is not a tu quoque.
Why are you interrupting? Why are you interrupting?
Oh my God.
You are absolutely. Yeah, I can be annoying. Keep interrupting me. I'll be more annoying. So you're just engaging. I'm gonna repeat what I said because you're interrupting me, right?
No, come on. Don't do that, Patty. Please. Come on. I'll let her interrupt you. Just come on.
You're just then actually fucking moderate.
All right, fine.
So, you're just engaging in tu quoque fallacious reasoning. I don't know why you keep doing it. I don't know why you think it's a good argument. But guess what? Like I said before, being a part of the cultural hegemon, being a country in which has so vast influence over the world and does have to actually reestablish its place within the ranks of cultural hegemony in the world, we sometimes have obligations to send our sons and daughters to die in international conflicts. It's simply what happens. And in this case, we have a country, like Safety just said, which is Russia, that wants to wipe out a group of people. Yeah, they're trying to wipe out culturally a group of people to implement their own will. And yes, we have to send people to fight against that.
Great. Yeah, it's obvious that countries need to be able to send people to make sacrifices in war. That obviously no one is arguing that point. Why we went 3 rounds of that and you thinking that you got some kind of dunk on me is absolutely humiliating. I'm sorry that the room had to go through that. No, obviously, obviously.
Come on, don't interrupt him.
Why are you interrupting? Why are you interrupting? Why are you interrupting?
I was quite happy to listen to what she was saying.
Obviously, countries field military. Obviously, countries field militaries to accomplish political goals. The question is X political goal worth the price in blood for deploying the military?
Yes.
Should we invade or repel a military invasion of Ukraine? Should we sacrifice American lives to protect the border integrity of a foreign country? That's the question.
Why doesn't anyone ask Iron?
I want to see if
I
want to see if I can establish something, right? I am very confident that what you said to safety before was a tu quoque fallacy. So first, I would like to establish what you said.
No, we're not doing this
First,
debate.
What is this bullshit?
Second, I would like to establish what a tu quoque fallacy is. And third, establish how you...
Pepe, come on. Pepe.
The cunning linguist
Wait, Pepe, come on. It's funny. Come on. I want to hear it. I want to hear this.
Why am I not allowed to do
No,
this?
we don't need to entertain this. This is a fucking bullshit, especially for that fucking. Let's just continue on with the
Why
fucking
am I not allowed to do this? This guy's saying a fallacy. He clearly did.
No.
I'd
Why
like to
can't we
hold his
just
feet
talk
to the
about
fire over this bullshit.
Why can't we talk about the goddamn conflict? Why do we have to, dude?
Because we're not.
This is
because
some petty,
anytime,
stupid shit.
Because when I bring up, it seems like, at least to me, when I bring up, okay, this is what I think. The entire conversation was met. But would you go and die? Would you send your child to die?
Yeah, is it worth the sacrifice?
That's why that's the contention. So we have to talk about whether or not that's a fallacy.
It's fallacious, yeah.
So let's
start.
Let's
not
start
fallacious.
with what
it
was
literally
said.
is. Shut up.
Let's start with what was said, right? So, safety said, I think that we should go and prevent Russia from invading Ukraine, including putting boots on the ground.
Hold on. I made my position much clearer than that.
Sanctions.
I don't support going to war unless Russia does a full-on invasion.
Okay, so if Russia invades, we should go to war to prevent them from taking control of Crimea, right? That's what you said.
No, they already have
safety?
control of Crimea.
He means Ukraine. He means Ukraine.
Okay.
Oh my god. Okay, Ukraine. Excuse me. So then, Iram responded with, "But would you be willing to go die in that war?" Correct? That's what was said. I want an affirmative, but that's not rhetorical.
That's not exactly what was said, but that'll do.
Okay, that's the same thing. That's functionally the same as what you said.
Sure.
Okay. Now, tu quoque is a fallacy where the opponent attacks the opponent's personal behavior and actions as being inconsistent with their argument, therefore accusing them of hypocrisy. This specious reasoning is a special type of ad hominem attack. Whataboutism is one particularly well-known instance of this technique, okay? So what you did was you said that his personal actions would not conform with the statement he just said, therefore he should not hold said position. Correct?
Well, no, that's not exactly it. Hold on, that's not exactly it, because he said that he would be willing to make these sacrifices himself, so there was no indictment.
No, it's not
on
about
his character.
What he says. It's your statement.
It was me that called him a coward, not Iram.
Okay, here. I
I never called him a coward.
We're not talking about coward. We're not talking about being a coward.
I'll make my position super clear.
I was very clear.
This is why this was pointless.
Shut the fuck up, Boots.
Mute that guy.
Right. So like, what you said, right? We're not talking about the coward comment, which was not made by Iram. We are talking about the part where you explicitly said, you wouldn't send your kid to war. I wouldn't send my kid to war. But like, you're advocating for this war effort. That's tu quoque. In case
I
you're
don't think
confused.
that is.
I'm going to read out the premises that would be required
no, we don't need
for
to,
tu
we don't need the
quoque.
premises. Read that again. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Person
I don't think it is.
Let Iram respond.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable question to think about what we are willing to sacrifice for what political end. And if we have this ivory tower attitude, which by the way, Safety does it. Safety said, yeah, I would do it. So kudos to him. This is actually not an indictment of Safety as a person. But if someone is sitting in their ivory tower just thinking, well, that should be done, but by somebody else, it's a sacrifice worth making, but not a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. That would be morally compromising for an argument if what we're trying to decide is what is prudent to sacrifice for.
Okay.
I really agree with you.
Tu quoque. Premise 1.
Oh my
Person
God.
A claims that statement X is true. Premise 2. person B asserts that A's actions or past claims are inconsistent with the truth of that claim.
That's not what I did then.
Therefore, conclusion, therefore X is false. I'm going to input the variables.
That's not what I did.
I don't think that
I'm
matches.
going to input the variables now. Safety claims that we should go to war with Russia to prevent them from invading Ukraine if they invade Ukraine. You asserted, Iram, that he would not be willing to go to war, and therefore we should not go to war.
No, that's untrue.
Therefore, that is a
you have that wrong.
fallacy.
Hold on. Hey, Silent, can you please read that thing again where you said, "Oh, hey, this is in fact true," right? This is like creating truth statements is not a ought statement.
Oh,
no,
yeah, Silent, by your own. Silent, by your own.
Pointless.
Silent, by your own.
Hold on. Let's just
definition,
plug it in as if it's the exact same phrase with the word "should." It doesn't change anything about the statements. You're just trolling when you say shit like this.
Silent. According to your little analysis there, what I did was actually not a tu quoque.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It literally was.
I did not make the claim that would be necessary to make for it to fall into a tu quoque.
And what claim did you fail to make that's necessary for a tu quoque?
That safety is by virtue of him not being willing to make a sacrifice is morally compromised or a hypocrite, which I never claimed.
Morally compromised is not required for this. So
okay, a hypocrite, which I also never claimed.
And
does not fit the tu quoque.
When you make statements like someone would be a hypocrite, right? Because you changed the claim after Safety said he would be willing to war. You said anyone from their iron towers who would be able to say we should go to war but wouldn't go to war themselves are compromised. That is again tu quoque. You saying that people are not willing to take the actions they are advocating for, and therefore those actions should not be taken. That is again another example.
It is what you said, Ira. You literally did say that. Look, Ira, at this point, you're like blatantly trying to fucking gaslight and possibly move the goalpost. This is what you blatantly said.
What goalpost did I move?
Close your mouth. The first thing that you said was, are you willing to go to war? And when Safety was like, no, a bunch of people started. Someone's got echo, but when Safety said no,
that's not what Safety said. That's not what Safety said.
Can you shut up and let me finish? Thank you. So when Safety said no, a bunch of people got up in arms. One of them screamed out, "Coward!"
This didn't happen.
When you said, "Can you shut the fuck up?" Now, once again, you're trying to gaslight the conversation. I'm going to finish, and either Pepe can do his job and moderate or not.
So, okay, everybody, just let Patty finish uninterrupted. And Iram, you can go next uninterrupted. And serious, I'm trying not to mod people here like too hard, but Jesus Christ,
this is the best room on the server. This is the best room on the server, bro.
Look at this fucking crying. It's your fucking room.
Shut the. So anyway, so the first thing that happened, the very first thing that happened, was you asked Safety if he'd be willing to fight. Safety said no, he's not interested in being in the military. He said if he was drafted, yes, he would go into the military, but he's not interested in like actually going like when there's no draft instated. Then you guys got mad. Someone in the background screamed out "coward." When all that calmed down, you said you're going to send your kid into the military to fight for this international conflict. I wouldn't do it. Would you do it? And then Safety was like, you know what? Yeah, I would do it. Stop pretending like the reason why you would ask this is not to, for some reason, point out hypocrisy if the answer was something that was opposite of the yes, I would do it. Can you stop trying to gaslight everyone and just accept that was what you were doing?
Patty,
Patty. No, actually, Patty got it. Patty did.
Hold on, Safety.
Thank you.
Safety he was going to. I'm sorry, and then Iram. I apologize.
Okay, sure. I'll repeat just so we're all on the same page and we aren't getting lost. I'm just going to briefly repeat what I said, which is very quick. I personally would not join unless I was told to by the government. Do I think it's worth dying for? Absolutely. But do I personally think I'd make a great fit for the front lines? No. The government said otherwise. Fuck it, give me a rifle.
My guy. So I honestly don't see how it'd be a fallacy to call out somebody's hypocrisy in their own logic.
Oh no.
Well, let Iram respond.
The
But
logic
I'm
is
saying I'm
not
not
in
being
conflict.
hypocritical.
The incongruity.
Yeah, I actually
I'll explain this.
never-
I'll explain this to you. The
Oh, boy.
Okay, let
incongruity.
Iram respond, guys.
I'm explaining why it's fallacious because someone asked, "How is it fallacious?" If someone does not act in a way that they advocate, that does not make the thing that they advocate for inaccurate or in some way false because they do not engage in that behavior themselves. The claim itself's truth value does not turn on whether they engage in that same type of behavior.
So their current behavior, not what they would be willing to do.
I'm actually, yeah, but
let Iram talk. I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna start muting. I'm gonna be a fascist. Everybody, shut the fuck up. I'm gonna be a fascist fucking tyrant, and so like literally let Iram talk, and none of you motherfuckers talk over him, please.
Yeah. So the reason that what I said is not fallacious, why I was not putting safety in a tu quoque, one, because he said yes, it is worth the sacrifice. So in his eyes, there is no difference between what he advocates for and what he would be willing to die for. It seems so. Obviously, he would. If I was trying to paint that as a moral indictment, that would have failed. What I was talking about was the calculus of what would be a prudent sacrifice. So to me, sending Americans, men and women, to protect Ukrainian borders is so beyond the pale, so fucking fried, and like what could be gained politically or strategically would never outweigh the cost in human life, American lives, to me. But what I'm talking about is from like a policy perspective, not from an individual perspective. That's why I said, would you? And yeah, safety said he would, but there's still the question of what would we be willing to sacrifice
what
for
would you?
what political aim in this case in Ukraine.
So
And
say
that is a stop.
Let Iram finish. Silent.
Deciding what we're willing to spill blood for is a perfectly reasonable question when you're assessing military action.
What would you be willing to spill?
Safety's willingness to bite your bullet does not mean that you are not engaging in fallacious reasoning.
Exactly.
It just means that your fucking attempt to gotcha completely failed. Now, if you'd like to now move on to whether or not we should defend American interests in Ukraine, then that's one thing. But your two quoque is fallacious reasoning, and it failed.
Hold on,
Exactly.
I don't. So
I don't
again,
think so,
this is somebody's actions. This isn't like their actions. This is what they would be willing to do, right? Calling out somebody's action.
Yeah, it's hypothetical.
No, so
hold on.
You missed the point. The answer does not matter. What matters is actually the initial question. The initial question from Iram was fallacious. It was setting up what was going to be fallacious lines of reasoning. It's not the answer which matters. Yes, it was, and you know it. Stop gaslighting. So like,
no,
it's not the answer.
Can
you shut up? Jesus Christ. So anyway. It's once again, right? Like if someone were to say something like, do you like porridge? Sorry, do you like milk with your porridge? And I were to answer, well, no, I don't really like milk with my porridge. And they were like, oh, well, I was just going to say that, milk and porridge is what makes a true Scottishman. And then you go something like, well, that wasn't fallacious because like they didn't actually go down the line of reasoning. You understand that they were still setting up a no true Scotsman.
No, I
Scotsman fallacy,
understand.
right?
No.
I don't think anyone's
That's
confused
what
about
Iram
any
was
of this.
doing.
No, I'm sorry. That's not.
What I
that's
see is to gauging whether or not somebody would be willing to do something that they are like calling others to do, right? And if they're not willing to do that, then I think that they're a fucking hypocrite. They should be disregarded.
That is a two quoque fallacy.
Okay, let Iram go. Let Iram go.
Why are you guys affirming the fallacy?
Okay, let Iram go. Iram gets to talk. No,
because I don't think that would be that should be a fallacy.
It's actually not. It's actually
not. It doesn't
not
matter what you think it should be.
Sorry,
just
it's not a
accept that you engage
Yeah,
in
it's not a
fallacious
tu
reasoning.
quoque.
Shut the fuck up, Booth.
So here's the difference. If safety were, for instance, saying no one should eat meat, eating farm factory meat is very, very wrong. And the room said, "Wait, do you eat meat?" And he said, "Well, yes, but it's still my point that we shouldn't be doing it." If I were shut up. Yes, that would be fallacious. Yes, but if I'm asking someone hypothetically, would you be willing to make a certain sacrifice based on these principles? And they answer in the positive or the negative. That's not necessarily a tu quoque because he's not contradicting his actual behavior. I'm not using his actual.
And again,
I'm not using. Shut up.
You a whole circus, man.
Shut up, Patty. Let him finish.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Yeah, because I'm not actually indicting his behavior. There's no. I'm not pointing to an actual hypocrisy on his actions.
You set up the question to go down fallacious line. You know what? It's ridiculous.
No, incorrect.
Hold on, Patty, can I make an analogy? It's like, bro, you took the gun, you loaded the gun, you cocked the gun, you pointed the gun at them, and they said, nah, and you said, suck my dick, bro. And they said, you know what, yeah, I'll fucking suck your dick, bro. And now you're gonna say, well, I never really threatened their life because, you know, they ended up sucking my dick.
This doesn't make any sense, sorry. No.
It's
exactly,
what is that? What was that analogy? Are we just letting that fucking happen?
Booth, why aren't you muted at this point?
Dude,
so, like,
dude, you're too high to even follow, man.
What is this with the gun and the dick sucking? What is this?
Iron, the point what he's trying to
but I'm too high to follow.
What he's trying to tell you,
Clearly.
you're both probably high. I mean, honestly, one of you's got low brain cells anyway. So like what he's trying to get across to you is intent. You started out this conversation, Iram, by having the intent of engaging in fallacious reasoning. Whether you didn't even know what tu quoque was, which is fine, because most people don't know when they're engaging in fallacious reasoning in the first place. Your example of, by the way, right? Your example of if someone says eating factory farm meat is bad, and then someone asks, well, you eat meat, that's still tu quoque.
Of course it is. Yes, I brought that up as an example of tu quoque.
Yes, right? Because the fallacy would cause people to forget the fact that like the only place in which you can get meat from other places that are not factory farm. Eating meat does not mean, obviously, that you're engaging in like factory farm practices, correct?
What the fuck? Why are we splitting hairs on this? Why? This is totally asinine. Why are we splitting
hairs
on this?
Okay, here. I'll resolve this. She's trying to stick with your example, and in your example, right, you decided to go with factory farm meat, and she's saying there's other types of meat.
Exactly. And if someone were to say to you, if they said, well, you know, like you keep talking about like how I'm a hypocrite, but I hunt 100% of my meat. And then you go, well, I was just saying that like, if you engage in this behavior, you're just being hypocritical. The intent was you started this out with the intent of doing fallacious reasoning. I don't know why that we have to have this long fucking conversation about the fact that you were actually trying to engage in fallacious reasoning, but you don't want to be a man and just accept you were.
No, sorry, because you don't understand the difference between what I was saying and this tu quoque that you set up.
You were 100% engaging in tu quoque.
But also we keep
No, I'm sorry.
Why are you not perma-muted? Holy fuck.
Yeah, Booth is acting like
why is this nigga crying about it?
Tonight.
You know that you were engaging in tu quoque you didn't know what tu quoque was, which is fine. But like you knew that you were getting ready to engage in fallacious reasoning from the very start.
You can say that all you want, Patty.
The only problem is that safety didn't respond in the way in which you thought he was going to respond.
No, that's not a problem.
Because he didn't respond in the way in which you thought he was going to respond, you decided to cover it up by going, I was just pretending to be retarded.
No, hold on. That's not an accurate picture at all.
I don't see how calling out a senator's son situation would be a fallacy.
Exactly.
Check your DM.
So the reason why it's fallacious again is because by engaging in this behavior, you haven't actually gotten down to the main subject. The main subject is the topic of what we're talking about moral or immoral action? Is it the right action to take? Someone can say, I don't want to dive in a freezing river to save someone, and then still also be like, but people who fall in frozen rivers should be saved. I just don't want to be the one to do it. We haven't gotten down to the fact, right? By going, oh, you're a hypocrite. You're not actually talking about the fact that there's someone fucking dying in a frozen river and they should be saved.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I have to paint the difference, but what I was doing was not tu quoque.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I actually think that. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go, Iram?
No, go ahead, Steve.
Okay. I do actually think Patty's example was the most perfect example that we should have been arguing from the beginning, which is it is exactly that. Which is, are you willing to go save the person in the frozen, drowning river when you're saying that we should save people who are drowning in frozen rivers, right? That would be the ultimate test. Would you be the one to go do it if you're saying that this should be the imperative?
Mention the people who died trying to save people.
So
well, that's
the thing with military action is
you're not justifying whether it's moral or not. You're just justifying whether the person is consistent or not.
Oh, sorry. And yes,
It
I
doesn't.
agree. Iram, I think we all agree that military action is obviously something that is way out of bounds, but she's just grounding it down to its very basic core argument.
Contrary.
I know you're not. I do not have the capability to jump in a frozen river and save someone. I know for a fact that I would die before I get to that person to save their life. That would be 2 people dead, right? So I'm going to say I don't want to be the person who saves someone in a frozen river, but like I absolutely believe that that person needs to be saved from a frozen river. You can't call that out and be like, that's hypocritical that you're not going to be the one to jump into that situation. We have thousands of servicemen who are capable in that position to do just that. And by arguing that those people should be doing their jobs in involving international matters is not hypocritical if you don't want to be in the military.
Okay, this is why I think, this is the distinction I want to draw between a tu quoque fallacy and what I was trying to illustrate, okay? So, what I was trying to illustrate to safety was just how beyond the pale of blood sacrifice for a Ukrainian border would have to be, and how incredulous I was at thinking that anyone would be willing to lay their life down for a country all the way across the world that's barely
so it's
like
an argument from incredulity, not a tu quoque.
What's that?
So it's an argument from incredulity, not a tu quoque. No, that doesn't improve you, buddy.
That's not. No, I haven't even
you
gotten to my.
No,
I'm
let
sorry.
Iram finish. Shut up, everybody. Let him finish.
This is just ridiculous. To decide what political end we're trying to achieve, the border integrity of Ukraine, and what we're willing to sacrifice. I mean, tens of thousands, perhaps. I mean, if it's a World War I scenario, hundreds of thousands of lives.
Millions.
To protect a. I mean, yeah,
with
nuclear weapons, maybe even more.
What does it matter if you want
to drill that into sharp focus, to say, ought we would you send your son? Would you make that sacrifice?
What does it matter if they would do it?
Because shut up.
What the fuck up? I'm seriously gonna mute people, dude. Like I'm getting really sick of this shit. I'm trying to work out, and motherfuckers keep on spurging. Shut up.
You keep threatening that. Nobody's scared when you don't actually do it.
Laden in that claim is the hypothetical of like, what ought we sacrifice, not what do you sacrifice, you hypocrite. That's the difference.
But
I gotta go. So I gotta go to dinner. If
it's just an obfuscation.
If I'm accused of dodging, just bring it up next time.
It's just an obfuscation.
If you're dodging, people have to eat.
If you're conceding it's a tu quoque and then saying the real issue is whether or not we should just generally do that, then you should just bypass the whole question and just go to that rather than waste everyone's time on this nonsense about whether someone individually should.
We should put boots on the ground or like engage in war with Russia if they invade Ukraine has nothing to do with whether or not safety would like put his own child's like life on the line. It's irrelevant. It's garbage. It has nothing to do with whether that claim is true.
He's gone. But
I know, I'm just
my whole argument built on like we've inherited a role which we chose to keep, right? Where we are in charge of defending democracies around the world. We put ourselves in that role and we need to act serious about it. 2, we have huge interest not only in defending our allies in Europe, which are the forefront of democracies on the planet, but also allowing Russia to take Ukraine gives them a direct border and signals to them that the US is not willing to intervene in their annexation of most of its countries around it. I'm not willing. I don't think it's worth the cost to tell one of our main rivals that it's okay for them to disrupt the workings of Eastern Europe, which disrupts basically the rest of the Western world.
You know what? That's pretty base, I have to admit. You know,
Mike, my sentiment is not like grounded in keeping U.S. hegemony for the sake of U.S. hegemony. Like I don't want predatory far right nations that seek to destroy and take over other countries and other democracies because it's in their political interest to do so. We as the United States should keep democracies alive. It not only defends our interest, but it also helps other people.
Plus, there are sexy white women in Ukraine, so
that's hella cap, dude.
That's have you seen Ukrainian models, though?
Is anyone here pro-Russia?
I am.
Unless you're, of course you are.
Yeah, so I see a nation that's like been on like the brink of collapse for like fucking 30 years.
Ukraine or Russia?
Ukraine. That's just been edged on for the past 30 years. And I honestly see that like the people were better off under Russian rule, like in the 80s.
That's so provide evidence for that.
No, he's not necessarily wrong, but like you're leaving something massive out there, which is the decades of Russian influence and complete destabilization of their political system in order to keep influence over that country. So the dysfunctional political system that they've been attempting to build back up, which is working, they've curbed down corruption, they've curbed down other issues of
So is it dysfunctional if they're fixing their shit?
If they're fixing their shit, it shows that they're trying to improve on the dysfunctional situation that Russia created.
Nice.
As if America isn't also dysfunctional, or Russia isn't also dysfunctional.
Yeah, I know.
So, like Russia is dysfunctional. Like their economy is fucked. Their political system is fucked. The idea that Russia also isn't like teetering on economic disaster is not true.
The sanctions that Obama placed on them that Trump in no way suspiciously removed had them in terrible economic straits.
Their entire even now their economy is like, if we put on this giant sanction bill that we're talking about, which I imagine is big considering they're saying that it's going to be infinitely worse than the ones in 2014. The already completely stalled Russian economy will get really fucked.
Why are we talking enough? Like Biden is like, if Russia does invade, Biden like he intends to like place even worse sanctions of supposedly. I think that it's on like the White House or so. Blessed be the Biden administration. I fucking love my country. We riding with Biden, baby.
I want to let because I actually want to have a conversation with Chief.
What's up?
He's trolling. Come on.
No. I honestly do not give a living shit, a single fucking shit about Ukraine. Right? I would much rather just see them like this whole fucking thing finally come to an end and them just fucking collapse than fucking us like having to sacrifice like any number of soldiers to save like these worthless group of people to me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is the fucking allegiance that America has to this fucking country?
Hasn't Safety already explained that to you?
Explain what to me? That we should have some form of interest in Ukraine?
What America's interest is?
Yeah, our interest is literally just maintaining Ukraine as a border state to protect our shit tier worthless allies.
I also don't not look bad.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Our shit tier allies? These are
like Germany.
Hold on.
Germany? You want to talk about Germany and how they banned any like flight of supplies over Germany to get to where they need to go, and so crew members or all the crews from all over Europe have tried to like fucking divert everything around Germany. Germany refuses to send any kind of food, weapons, or any other form of aid to the
Germany. This is a pretty easy response. Germany is the black sheep out of the bunch.
Yeah.
Picking the Germany example, right, also leaves out UK, France, the European Union as an entity, Sweden, Spain, the Dutch, the Belgians, the Italians. Right? What do you mean? These are all people that are sending equipment and all this shit, and I'm leaving out many countries
there. Worthless allies. Just take a look at like half of Europe and how weak they are, and how much money we spend to defend them when they don't put a single penny into their own national defense.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, so the fact that we fund their military has given them the capabilities to create a massively strong economic backbone, which the United States 1,000,000% benefits from.
How so?
What the fact that
how much of our
the fact that they don't have to spend enormous amounts
of
money on the military, which the United States absolutely can do, right, and allowing them to build a huge infrastructure and service back base and having a huge financial capability, huge financial sector, to work with
We
the
should
United
spend
States
much
has
less on the
caused
military.
massive economic growth in the United States. And the idea that that's not something that's worth defending is delusional.
Mission complete. Excellent work, Tenno.
Hold on, I'm about to get killed. I'm gonna try and respawn. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm getting like my ass blown out in this fucking game.
No, that's fine. I understand playing your game.
I
just intervene in
understand
countries that are like that shouldn't even be like dealt with. Like,
yeah, they're baiting you in. Just let them have their shitty country.
But like, okay, you say let them have their.
Wait,
you say.
I said
hold on, I'm gonna respond to him.
A lot.
You say let them. You say let them have their. You say let them have their one shitty country, and then they'll take another shitty country, and then they'll have a bunch of shitty countries, and then they'll have a huge capability to do a fuck ton of interruptive shit, which fucks with the United States economy and influence
because
abroad.
of how big your country is.
So hold on, sorry, I was distracted there. Yeah, so yeah, when you're saying that we're benefiting from like their drastically increased economy, right? Maybe that would work if we had like exports, because you know when like our dollar is weak compared to their dollar, our exports actually benefit, right? But we don't export as much as we should. We're also like heavily competitive with all of their markets, so like we're literally paying them to compete with our markets, because of course they don't have to divert a certain percentage.
Yeah, but we also import a fuck ton of shit. And also, yet again, might I add, they're humongous financial institutions, which are funded by the fact that we let them have military protection, is of huge benefit to the United States. The amount of money that we float into Europe and European investments have flown into the United States is in the hundreds of billions, if not trillions.
Yeah, the amount of money that we've dedicated towards Europe.
And the amount of money that we've made hundreds of billions of dollars
by selling
trillions.
Things, yeah, by selling things to Europe. I understand, right?
There are more things than selling shit to Europe. There are huge infrastructure projects which we do. There are huge financial projects that we do. There are so many other things besides selling them cheap plastic shit.
Who is we? Who's the pro?
Yeah,
who's the we? Who's the we in that situation?
Who's the
so hold on. When we have companies go to their country to set up things like, I don't know, a fucking dam or a bridge, where does that tax money from that operation go?
Wait, this is U.S. institutions, not like the government. I'm talking about.
I know.
I'm talking about private institutions, right? So not necessarily the U.S. government itself working in the European economy. Not only that works vice versa. European financial institutions have pumped billions of dollars into the U.S. economy for infrastructure investments, for corporate expansions, for business expansions. Like the idea that like this isn't benefiting us is like, no. We get so much money from Europe.
Wait, who? But
Europe is probably our closest trading partner outside of China.
I get that. We're getting all this money. Who's the money actually going to? What segment of American society is all this money going to? And where are they getting them? Which segment of American society are they taking the money from to support this?
Well, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. The companies themselves, the banks themselves, like okay. Well, I mean, they make money in an enormous amount of ways. Do I say wait? No, I'm not getting. No. I'm not getting caught in this dumb. You're defending unethical corporations. I think these motherfuckers need to be curbed with regulation.
Unethical corporations. I'm talking international corporations that aren't solely tied to the United States. That yes, they are making tons of money from these types of financial institutions. But we're talking about what do we get the benefit, as in the U.S. citizenry gets the benefit, and you haven't demonstrated that.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin can get all the fucking money it wants. Doesn't mean it's benefiting us in fuck all anything. If anything, our tax hold on. If anything, hey, shut up for a second, please, for the love of God, right? So if anything, when Lockheed Martin goes over there and builds some sort of fucking like advanced bullshittery, guess where that tax money is? That they like. So when that company gets paid to do work in Germany, guess where like the tax money goes to, that they get taxed on that income.
All right, here I'll concede.
Hey, shut up! It goes back to Germany, right? And so Lockheed Martin can just fucking hoard all the cash that it wants, but at the end of the day, us U.S. citizens are still getting taxed, of which 50% of our taxes go towards funding our weak, pathetic allies.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Wait, but
I'm gonna do. No, you can wait. I'm gonna respond because I just had two responses at me. Then you can go. You can. very quick. I'm going to concede all of that, right? Let's assume that we're not seeing very much of the money, right? I'm going to say, very simply, if you don't like the banks, regulate them, curb stomp them, right? The money is still there. The financial, what's the word? The financial will to invest in the United States is still going to be there because there's a fuck ton of money in the United States to be made, right? If you don't like Lockheed Martin, get rid of it, break it up. It's not that hard to do. It doesn't mean like the financial incentive for European companies to invest in American businesses, which does make jobs, which does make products, right, that get delivered either to the United States or that we export, because like it or not, the U.S. does export things, or it provides services,
You have a massive trade
right?
deficit.
Yeah, we also have a huge service industry, right? So there are a fuck ton of things that European markets invest in the United States for them, right? But this doesn't hamper the argument. Getting rid of Lockheed Martin doesn't get rid of financial interest in the United States.
Okay, okay, first of all,
Sorry,
the idea that you could just get rid of these corporations and the problem is solved, that's not the problem. It is the system as to how this works, as in these companies are being incentivized to go to European markets, which benefits them, which we are funding. So as long as that system is set up, that will continue to happen. It doesn't matter
But
if
he's
you
arguing that the
more
money comes
taxes
back.
against Lockheed Martin, because the taxes will just go right back to that European
Our
market.
investments come back. We do fuck tons of trade with our allies in the EU.
Come back to who? Come back to who?
The United States consumer. You get a fuck ton of products from Europe. You get a fuck ton of. You get a.
To the United States consumer.
Yeah, hold on.
Just explain this already. Why are you literally repeating yourself?
We get a bunch of products from Europe. Again, how does that?
No, not a.
benefit
Okay.
us?
You're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we get products directly from Europe. The investments that are made that are in American small businesses and American corporations, right, like Staples or McDonald's or whatever the fuck, all up and down the economy, investments that we have from our European allies, right, are able to fund goods to be imported from all over the world.
Why would they
It doesn't
not
just
be
have
able?
to be Europe.
Wait.
Yeah, so hold on. We get taxed to compete with Europe, and then buy their products, right?
Why is that competition negative?
Hold on. Why is it negative? Because what? Because again, when we pay a company to compete with us, it's literally it is literally like a company.
But we're not
right?
paying a company to compete with us. Who are we
Yes,
paying?
we literally
to compete
are.
with us?
Hold on. Yes, we literally are. By simply taking our tax dollars to pay for that country's defense, that country doesn't need to tax their companies.
It seems like you.
Hold on. Hey, am I going to get to finish?
It's how things work.
No, hold on. Listen. Can you shut up and listen? So when
I am shutting up, and I am listening.
Yeah, no, hold on.
You try understanding, maybe.
So hold on. When I am a company, right? Or when I get taxed, right? I get taxed here in America to send my money to Europe so that they don't have to pay. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a fight, so just bear with my retardation logic here.
That's the excuse he's using tonight.
This is what happens when you pretend to be Destiny, but you don't have the IQ to back it up.
No. Let me finish. I'm out of the fight, right? So again, when you get taxed, right? Your tax money goes towards Europe so that they can keep their taxes lower than what they should be, right? Hold on.
You guys shut the fuck up and let him finish?
It absolutely is. I've seen your numbers, right? If you guys wanted to actually have a defense fund, like y'all do now, with while actually paying for it, y'all's taxes would be around 60%. So shut your mouth for a second, right? So again, we're paying to cover you guys, so you don't have to tax your own fucking citizens and companies to pay for your own defense fund, right? Therefore, your prices are a little bit lower because your taxes are lower.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Taxes aren't.
Also,
Europeans don't have lower taxes than Americans.
Retard.
They're not lower taxed. What you're saying is
retard. Listen to what I'm fucking saying, right? When I'm saying if your taxes are lower, they are lower than what they should be if you fucking retards would pay for your own shit. Right.
All right. So
America doesn't get any benefit.
All right. Here. So I'm gonna. I'll post
wait.
this. I'll post this in guest text. Right. So I'm gonna just to end this for a second. Here are from 2019 a list by industry of how many billions of dollars the European Union made in direct investments in the United States, and it is number 1. Chemical plants, then finance industry, then manufacturing, then wholesale trade, etc., etc. They invest over $1 trillion in 1 year in the United States economy.
Yeah, and
towards U.S. businesses.
That's great, but that's not where the Europeans
That's
largely use
1/20th.
their money. They wait. That's not where the Europeans are using their money. All right, we all know what the Europeans use their money for with
Really,
their
we
very
can look
low
at it right
defense
here.
budgets. They use it for massive social welfare programs
That's
inside
the
of their
problem you have.
countries. They use them for these bloated social
Yeah,
welfare
you could be
programs
cool
that they
too.
would not be able to sustain with an actual military budget
They could
that we
sustain it. Yeah,
directly
they
fund, money that goes directly to the European citizenry and not the American.
Turns out America had a fuck ton of social programs too for over 30
Like,
years, and we killed them all, and we were able to do them while also having a military. What you're saying is stupid
We
and
can't
false.
even
It's just
afford our
Iram,
programs right now.
You can
Yeah,
be
you think the
both.
problem
You
with
can
that
be
is
in
to do with
Iram. You
this,
can
not
be
just
Iram.
not taxing
Look at
our
what it
content.
sounds like that we have a disagreement over how America conducts its economic policy. Right? There are two active complaints, which is one, we're funding social welfare programs, and two, the way we conduct trade with Europe is unethical to American workers. Two things that can be changed on the American part. The U.S. absolutely can fund its military and do social welfare spending. The U.S. has the
That's not the point. That's
wait,
not
wait,
the
wait,
point.
wait. And on top of this, if the U.S. really, really, really wanted to, it could rebuild and reorganize the economy to be very, very friendly to union workers.
No, it's not your
That's
fault. We
not
fucked
the
them over
problem
with Brexit.
either. The problem is
You're
that
bringing
our
up these
tax
problems.
money, the
Bring up the
problem is
prime
that our
problem.
tax money is being taken to fund disloyal allies that then
Disloyal?
take advantage
What's
of us.
disloyal
Take
about that?
advantage of. Yeah, we know what the French did in Iraq, all right? But
What?
That's a
take
terrible
advantage.
example.
Take advantage of us.
No, I'm not accepting
Yes,
that
they
example.
do
Is that a
take
troll?
advantage of
Is
us.
that a
They
troll?
take advantage by not
Tell
spending,
me that's a troll.
It's
not
Americana.
spending the
He's a
amount
troll. Yeah.
that by not spending the amount of money that they are contractually obligated to spend on NATO, because we fit the bill for their defense, and we fit. By
You're
that,
acting
they're
like
able
you're
to fund
acting like this is an
huge
enormous
social
sum
welfare
of money.
programs.
I bet we're talking about less than 1% of our total budget. I bet we're
No,
talking
it's
about
not.
something
The United
really.
States has tons of investment and tons of military hardware inside of Europe. We have, I think it was like a stat from like 2011. We have twice the amount of investment in Belgium than we had in the entire fucking Congo. Like,
What? We don't have any strategic interest in the Congo. We do have strategic interest in Western Europe. I will add this, however.
what strategic interest?
Like I don't
interest do we have in Western Europe?
I don't understand why you're doing a collective sum of how many assets we have in Europe, right? That's not what I'm talking about. We spend less than 1% of our budget every year on European defense. So like the idea that like the nice little like curb like collectively they have all these assets that we spent there, but it's not a response. Like we are getting stuff out of it. I posted data for you showing that in direct investments in U.S. industries, they've spent over $1 trillion in a year. That's 1/20th of our economy. So the idea we are not getting anything out of this relationship, and we have disloyal allies, and then go ahead and cite wars that aren't defensive and highly controversial, is such a bad take.
Those investments would exist even if we did not have such a heavy military presence.
You just said they
Western
spend
Europe
all
and
that
didn't
money on
have
these social welfare programs.
Let me finish. Didn't have a security guarantee
You know you're
for
talking
them.
to Americana,
A security guarantee that
Yeah.
will draw us into future conflicts that we frankly do not need to be a part of.
Okay, so for one, right? I'm just gonna say this again real quick. The United States absolutely gets stuff out of this alliance, right? We don't have disloyal allies.
Yeah, hold on.
Yes,
you cited France in Iraq.
That was an example.
No, that's
kidding
not
me?
okay. No.
How many European states went into
You
Iraq?
cited an example. You cited an example where none of our allies had any obligation.
The European Union accepts Chinese investments Like
the U.S. accepts
there are
Chinese
tons
investments as
of
well. What are you
examples.
talking
There
Bro,
are
the U.S. does the
tons
same
of
thing. You're a
fucking
troll,
examples. There are
bro.
tons of fucking examples.
The EU accepts the
There are
same
tons of
Chinese
examples of what is
investments that the
happening here.
United States accepts.
Tons of examples of
Yeah.
European Union undercutting United States interests.
Okay, I'm
Wait,
sorry. Why did you bring up
What?
Chinese
Fuck.
investments when the United States
Chinese
does it
investments
too?
into strategic areas, which are extremely
We do it
important.
We
too.
do the same
No,
thing.
we don't. You fucking
It's so
moron.
ridiculous.
You don't think LA is a strategic center? You don't think Seattle is a strategic
Oh my
center?
God, they
No.
invested in property. We're talking about telecommunications, you moron, for countries.
That is true.
The
China
United
does,
States
hold on.
allows Chinese investments into
Property
telecommunications
investment
too.
is not an essential
The
investment.
United
You
States
seize
does
those assets.
telecommunications investments from China.
Where?
Yeah,
You know that like China is like, or Chinese companies are currently building like an large like roads in major American cities, like in Houston.
So China
Just
telecom.
said we was talking about
Wait,
so much
so I'm gonna post. Wait. I'm gonna post this. I'm gonna post this. I'm gonna post this
You
in
don't
guest
understand the
spec.
distinction.
No, hold on. You asked me.
Hold
You don't
on,
understand the
Americana. Let
distinction.
stop.
Wonderful.
Everybody stop. All right. Finish. Safety,
Okay,
and
it's gonna be
then you can go, Americana.
China Telecom, which has been authorized for 20 years to provide U.S. telecommunication services, had more than 335 million subscribers. The United States. So here's an article talking about the United States government authorizing China Telecom to work in the United States. So Chinese investments in U.S. telecommunications.
Yeah, that was a
It's
pretty
not
retarded
on
point
the same
on your
scale.
American.
China is building the
It's
entire
not on the
5G.
same scale.
China is building the entire 5G network in Europe. Not only that, China built an entire fucking.
Is that true? I'm gonna look that up.
in-
Am I gonna find that to be true?
Oh yeah, actually, if I remember that, I remember that.
China is building an entire port in Greece, in which they, I'm not sure if they're establishing military investments, but it is a part of their Belt and Road Initiative, where they have been making these kinds of investments. They have made tons of investments into Europe, into very important,
No, that
very
wouldn't
important
happen.
strategic.
So for one, the idea that there would be any military bases in Europe for China, it's not gonna happen. That
I didn't
Greece
say
example.
military bases.
Did you not just say that? You said
No, he
maybe in
said
the
I
future.
don't. No, I didn't. I said I don't know, but they built an entire port in Greece in which they have
Okay, so just
most
to
of
end
the
that,
control
just
over the
to end
systems
your
of the port.
just to end your I don't know, NATO Greece is a NATO member. Chinese troops would not be
Yes,
stationed in Greece.
that's great. I know there are not Chinese troops in Greece, but China has a track record of using these types of investments to eventually put military hardware into the country. They did this exactly.
Okay, so for one, I will here.